So I'm part of the Goenchi Mati movement. We're a non-partisan people's movement in Goa, and we've come up with a new way of looking at minerals and mineral wealth. First of all, we begin with who owns minerals, and this is the broad structure. At the global level, things like deep sea minerals are owned by humanity in total. Most nations own the minerals, but some places like the US, the landowner owns the minerals. In India and some other countries, it's the subnational entity which owns the minerals. For us, it's the state of Goa. And again, there are pockets in India and other places where indigenous people have sovereignty and own the minerals. And of course, the landowner is also the owner of the minerals in the US in some places. Our fundamental argument is that minerals are inherited wealth. None of us have created minerals, so we have an obligation to future generations to ensure that they inherit what we inherited, either as minerals or as a different form of wealth. So extraction, in our view, is essentially the conversion of mineral wealth into another form of an asset. Now, I want to take you through a quick example of what happened in Goa. We looked at the annual reports of the largest extractor, and then using volumes, we extrapolated to the entire state for an 8-year period. Ignore the numbers, the specific numbers, but basically over an 8-year period, we had a sale value, we subtracted the expenses and a very generous profit for the extractor. So we have this value of ore of 51,655, which effectively is the value of the ore which belonged to the people of Goa before it was extracted. We found that against this 51,000, the state of Goa as the owner got less than 2,400, or we lost 95% of the value of the ore. And the second part is, because of the way governments from historic practice treat royalties as income or revenue or a tax, that is not also saved, so the entire amount has actually got lost. Now, you might think that Goa is an exception, but we found studies from all over the world. Most of these are not our studies, but you can see the kinds of loss rates which are going on. Except for Botswana, everybody is in double digits, and I think nothing is less than 35% other than Botswana. And these are long periods of time. Australia is a decade, UK is 34 or 36 years. Massive amounts are being lost. I just want to take you to another, this is based on IMF work. If you start with inherited minerals worth 100, it could be $100, IMF estimates the best case is a loss of 15%. I've, by mistake, taken a 10% loss. So 85 is received. Of that 85, I use 90 out here, about 40 is consumed, 20 is used to, for public investments of various kinds, and about 30 goes into natural resource funds of various kinds. And then of that public investment, about half is saved. So if you start with 100 of wealth, you're reaching 40 of wealth, which future generations will inherit, which is fundamentally wrong. We're basically stealing from our children. And what's happening is cronies are capturing this loss, and what is being spent by the politicians is being used to benefit, again, their cronies. It might be a road to the presidential village, or it might be a presidential palace. Huge amounts are being consumed. And as I mentioned, this is arising, part of this is arising from a government accounting standard, in particular IMF's government finance statistics manual, which needs to be fixed. Now let me go to what we're recommending. We're recommending 5 basic principles. Principle 1 is states own minerals as a trustee on behalf of the people and especially future generations. Principle 2, since we have inherited the minerals, we must ensure future generations inherit either the minerals or their value. Principle 3, if we decide to extract the minerals and sell them, we must ensure zero loss. We must get the full value other than the extraction cost and a normal profit for the extractor. Principle 4, whatever we receive, we are recommending following Norway's best practice of saving it into a future generations fund ideally invested overseas in in a global portfolio of low-cost mutual funds. And principle 5 is, since we own the mineral, we own the fund, we own the income from the fund, distributed equally to everyone as a citizen's dividend, a right of ownership. It meets a whole bunch of values. It also is, from a public finance perspective, far superior to the current practice, even the current best practice being advocated by NRGI or the IMF. It's also designed specifically to mitigate the whole issues of the resource curse. I won't go into all of this in detail. It can get support from a very broad spectrum of people because, firstly, it's economically superior, it's politically neutral as long as you accept the idea of equality. Most nonprofits can support it because it helps the disadvantaged more. There are a variety of politicians in situations where politicians may accept this and implement it. This is important. The basic goal for us with mineral wealth is to protect it from theft or loss or waste. So we believe these 4 additional steps are critical. Zero loss must be a goal. We must have a high security mineral supply chain. ICGLR's regional certification mechanism is in our mind the best so far. Fit and proper person tests and integrity due diligence is something critical. This has been raised by the Philippines group. World Bank has a manual how to implement this called license to drill. And we believe radical transparency is required, which goes far, far, far beyond what EITI currently provides. The framework also looks at other inheritances because it's not just the mineral value, it's also the environment, it's also the community. How do you deal with all of that? But the points are here. And overall, this results in a situation which is fair. Everybody gets what is their due, but nobody gets more. Most of all, both the environment and our future generations are taken care of because we can see that the whole situation right now is unsustainable. So if we're talking about sustainability, intergenerational equity we have to begin with intergenerational equity. For everybody on the call, we're all owners of the planetary commons and specifically deep sea minerals where extraction is about to begin. And the way extraction is currently in part of UNCLOS is that it's almost automatic, and whatever commercial terms are set today will essentially apply for eternity and becomes a precedent for everything else. We know almost nothing about either the biodiversity or what the minerals are. So if we sell our minerals today on these terms, we'll definitely suffer a loss. And UNCLOS was signed in 82 and updated a little bit in 94, but it's vastly out of date. So UNEP must make a recommendation that UNCLOS be updated because of its criticality for a huge amount of the planet. We've actually got this into the national mineral policy in India. This is the first 2 points. Natural resources are a shared inheritance where it's our responsibility to make sure future generations receive the inheritance. And state governments as owners will try to get zero loss. The Supreme Court of India has iron ore permanent fund plus a cap on extraction, both on grounds of intergenerational equity. So we're missing the citizens' dividend so far. And here are the 7 specific recommendations we are making to UNEP. This is actually based on a advocacy letter that Goa Foundation has already sent in, and Goenchi Mati movement is supporting what the Goa Foundation has recommended. And this is just a little bit more information. I think I'm done.